Hello and welcome to the Walking Skull podcast. I am one of your co-hosts, Martin Walker. That's the walking part, and then the skull part will talk right now.
Hello, it's me, Sean Scullion. You might remember me from some non-existent projects as Skull Man, more like Fat Man. That was a really good cold open. If you didn't even do a sponsorship, I'm here. I'm really good at doing the sort of approachable, marketable voice.
He's really good at talking just the obviousness of an advert. Like iron, like brew, have iron brew.
Yeah, you like your iron, so you like your brews. Well, hold on. If you want some Heinz and you want some beans, get some Heinz beans. If your last name is Heinz, you'll probably enjoy it because you are a Heinz after all.
But anyway, this is going to be our podcast weekly to every 2 weeks, depending on the busyness of one or the other, where we are going to do what everyone else in the world is doing and record conversations over Zoom and try and make money out of
it. Try. I mean, I think the main goal here is to sort of have some fun with it, just because we haven't seen each other in person for what feels like 100 years. So I think the sort of like getting into the groove of having some fun with it is pretty cool. And also, yeah, as I look at my window right now, the world is on fire. Podcasts are popular again. I mean, they're still kind of popular, but they're popular like now. So yeah, might as well get on the trend.
Might as well jump on the bandwagon. So we are just literally going to do what probably most every other podcast is and talk entertainment stuff, but mainly from what we've watched, because we've got a similar but different taste in films. There's the occasional film we cross over.
Or like, I think in terms of our tastes, like I'm kind of like into the sort of like super in depth sort of pretentious side of it, where it's like, oh, all of it is art. And you're kind of the sort of like, yeah, movies are fun. I like movies. So we kind of have like our own different views of it, but it's not like, it doesn't like butt heads. It's more just a sort of like, hey, I like this movie. So do I. Let's talk about it. And kind of the same with TV
I like
as
this
well.
movie and I don't. And then we just sort of do what everyone else on the internet should do and just go, oh, okay, and then get on with our life.
Yeah, just have a civil conversation and not worry about some, I don't know, fantasy space movie about space wizards for 3 years.
Oh, now Star Wars hates us. There goes all the Star Wars fans.
You said the name, Martin. I was trying to avoid saying the name. They're going to come after us now. They're going to fucking go into the chats and be like, no, not the last Jedi. Oh, there we go, you're back. You froze for a moment. I thought, oh no, the Star Wars fans are back.
And before everyone says, we know that not all Star Wars fans are bad, but there's a few of you that could learn to be slightly better when it comes to judging things.
Yeah. From personal experience, I like Star Wars, but I don't particularly like to talk about it in public these days because you don't really know who you're going to get, like a box of chocolates.
Yeah, I'm not like a diehard fan. I like movies. If it's a movie that I'm enjoying, like I can see the flaws in a lot in the Star Wars films, especially like the ones that aren't the original three, because
the prequels.
Well, the prequels, and you can see some of the faults in the sequels. Which, if you're one of those people, there's a lot of them. It's called Last Jedi and Rise of the Skywalkers. It's a huge fall. Blah 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 blah. We get you.
Yeah, but before we do continue, I just want to clarify to our listeners right now that we are not paid by Walt Disney or the Walt Disney Corporation or any other corporation that supports Walt Disney. No, we are independent contractors of sorts.
I wish we were paid by Disney.
Like trying to hide the fact that we're paid by Disney. Someone like calls us out for it. We're just like, what? No, we're not paid by them. Consume the product.
If people thought we were paid by Disney, we would have a lot more. We would have better equipment if we were paid by Disney. Yeah, but other than just talking random films, apparently we'll just start off with the Star Wars. We've got the Star Wars controversy ones out of the way. Let's just go out of the way.
Well, you say controversial. At this point, I say non-controversial because, again, you just need to get a grip over yourself about these movies. Just come on. It's been 3 years, guys. Let it be. Let it be.
Other than that, we're just going to sort of hang out and chat and then hopefully maybe make some money from it. But you never know.
Yeah. God, it's a wait-and-see situation. So, we have our movies here, and
we've kept a list of movies.
Mhm.
And the list will just consist of what we've watched over the last 2 weeks.
Yeah, and has the walking part of the Walking Skill podcast put it. We're going to be talking about the movies and TV shows we've seen, and it's of course different sort of like films and TVs because we have different tastes, like we discussed, and also, hey, you'll probably get a good recommendation out of this and probably want to go check out the film or TV show and be like, hey, that Skull Man and the Walking Person were correct. This is actually not that bad.
So I've got 12. How many have you got in your list?
About 8, just because like they're kind of the ones I really kind of want to talk about. I've seen some stuff in between, but they're not really like, either they're not finished yet, or I'm kind of just like, I don't think there's a lot worth to discuss of this one, so I'm just gonna leave it off the list. So it's mostly just kind of like stuff that will probably, I think, are interesting to talk about, just because so we're kind of missing off the trend boat, but whatever.
Right, I'll let you go first. First film, give me a quick description, and then we'll talk about it.
Sure thing, boss. All right, so the film I want to quickly bring up, because I think it was like one of the first ones I went to the cinema to see at the Edinburgh Film House, mask and everything. And just a quick disclaimer, the way they've set everything up there, the restrictions and whatnot, well done. Honestly, fantastic. They're probably like the way they've handled it is really incredible. Anyway, so the movie is The Trial of the Chicago 7, the second film from writer-director Aaron Sorkin, who also wrote and directed last year's, what was the name of the film? It had Jessica Chastain in there. Anyway, Molly's Game. Yes! Molly's Game. There we go. Thank you, Martin. You saved my butt from messing that up. Anyway, so The Trial of Chicago 7 is set in 1968 or in the late 60s. I could probably be getting the date wrong, but with the infamous Chicago trial of the Chicago 7, where a peaceful protest kind of went wrong. And it's an ensemble legal drama that has the following actors: Sacha Baron Cohen, Jeremy Strong, Eddie Redmayne, Joseph Gordon-Levitt, Mark Rylance, and including Frank Langella from the Frost versus Nixon film. In fact, he's a big legendary character actor. And also John Lynch, and who else is in the film? Who else am I leaving out of this incredible motion picture? Oh, and because I can't really go for the name right now because it's a long name, you're the guy who plays Black Manta from...
is it by any chance Abdul Mantin II? And I apologize to him for butchering that name.
I have the name in my mind. I would have gone for it, but because I didn't have the notes like you have, I kind of just would have like messed it up completely. So thank you for taking the bullet. So Martin, are you familiar at all with the Chicago 7 stuff that the film talks about?
Other than what I've seen in the trailer, no. To be perfectly honest.
Well, neither have I. It was one of those like big with going from like the film stuff of it. It was like one of those big projects that had a lot of people attached to it. Like in the beginning of the film with the production companies, one of them being DreamWorks. Apparently, it was a film that Steven Spielberg wanted to make since 2002, to a point where he originally wanted Heath Ledger to play the role that Eddie Redmayne would wind up playing, and then eventually down the line, Aaron Sorkin as then made it. Originally, Seth Rogen was going to play the role that Jeremy Strong was going to be playing, but that didn't turn out. And even Will Smith at one point was rumored to be in the film to play the Bobby Seale character who Mateen II plays. So it was one of those like big films that like was in production for years, and there we have it on Netflix. Originally going to be a Paramount releasing in cinemas, but again, 2020 got to do a 2020, and we got it on Netflix.
I might watch it. It's a 2-hour long thing, I think.
2 hours and 10-15 minutes, but it's not like the longest thing ever. And going by Sorkin's writing ability, it doesn't really feel that long, just because the way his screenplays are structured. Like he wrote Steve Jobs, he also wrote Social Network, which he won an Academy Award for, and his screenplays are so... I describe his screenplays as being like action-packed, where not a whole lot of action happens. It's just characters like talking at each other, and it's what I would describe as being machine gun dialogue. So when you watch like Chicago 7, you're just going to get like nonstop at each other, and it's like really intense and really well done and really well performed. And first off the bat, screenplay and actors are incredible. I recommend seeing it for those two elements.
At all?
No, sorry. I thought you had. I stopped because I figured you had something to say. I didn't want to like continue because
this is one of those debatably bad parts of the podcast where if we've not seen it, there's not much of a conversation.
Yeah. So and then in that case, I'll probably just wrap it up because half the stuff that I have here you've probably not seen. so that's gonna be kind of a pain in the ass in terms of
No,
the conversation.
I like Sasha when he does. I've never really been a fan of Sasha Baron Cohen when he does all the Borat type characters and all the fake characters. I like it when he's a serious person.
Yeah, I like him doing like both. I think he's definitely in his element when he's doing the sort of like Borat Bruno sort of thing, because you look back on him and they were like having this like huge like saying to his like meaning of the comedy and whatnot. Like the moment in Bruno where like he and like this cage fighter kiss each other in front of a live audience, still one of the most incredible things I'll ever see. Not only in terms of how shockingly comedic it was, but also how the reaction of the people is just kind of horribly violent, and you're like, dude, get out of there right now. And Sacha Baron Cohen does the dramatic stuff. Sometimes it works, but when it comes to like something like Les Miserables, he'll just be there, and it's like, dude, what are you doing here? You're killing the vibe right now. Get out of here.
I defend him a little bit with that film. That was the character he was playing. Him and Helen Botham Carter were playing the characters that are just traditionally sort of there.
Like you have, what makes it annoying too is that everyone else is like having these like regal English accents, and you have Baron Cohen with this like exaggerated French accent. You're like, dude, you're killing the vibe. Why? Stop this. This madness. But to sort of put that at ease, his role has Abby Hoffman in the Chicago 7. Genuinely one of his best performances. Like, it's honestly fantastic. Just because you wouldn't expect to see him give that kind of performance, and he knocks it out of the park, along with Jeremy Strong from Succession, who is just awesome. Like, there's a really great scene that's kind of comedic that has and I won't spoil it just because it's kind of adorable, and you're kind of just like, this guy is my favorite. I love him. Everyone else does a particularly like strong job, and obviously it's a screenplay that's like by Aaron Sorkin that's like really well done. It's very very like good. Sorry if I'm losing words here. I'm not particularly the best wordsmith. And Sorkin as a director is really good. The period is captured like wonderfully, and just I thought it was a fun, terrific little film. Some people don't particularly like it, and I'm kind of one of the people who kind of enjoyed it, just because I don't really have a personal connection toward the story that the film is based on. So I kind of just watched it, kind of blindly thinking, hey, this is what they've got up here is actually quite good. So I do recommend it if you have like 2 hours and 10 minutes to kill. It's pretty good.
My films, I'm gonna go watch it anyway. To be honest, I might. My partner might not be fully into it because she's never really into the talky films. But you've talked me into it. I'll give it a shot. Right, my first film was the Sean William Scott and Courtney Cox directed Just Before I Go.
Oh,
have you seen that one?
I think I've heard of it. I think it was. Hold on, I'm trying to think of like what the plot was. Isn't it about a guy who's thinking of killing himself, and he is going around making peace with people and whatnot? Is that the movie?
Yes.
Yeah.
You basically. Sean William Scott plays, I'll just double check the name before I screw it up, plays Ted Morgan, who is debatably had one of the worst lives on film, and he gets to around the age of 30, 31, early 30s. Unfortunately decides that he's going to kill himself, but makes himself a list of things that he's going to do before he kills himself. Like, talk to the girl he had a crush on in school, tell his teacher that was a crap teacher that she was awful, beat up the school bully and stuff like that. But when he, without spoiling it too much, when he gets there, he finds that it's not really going to work out the way he wants it to work out. Like, he goes and tells his teacher that she was awful and all that stuff, but she's in a nursing home and in a coma, so she can't react to any of it. It is a dark comedy. He goes to beat up his school bully, but his school bully, who is played by Rob Riggle, and Rob Riggle's always good, no matter what he's in.
We need a bully figure. You get Rob Riggle on board. You just kind of have to.
But when he goes up to beat the crap out of him, I'll say, the first thing that Rob Riggle's character does is apologise and say, I was going through a lot back then. I feel completely awful about it. I'm so sorry, and all this kind of stuff. And it's just sort of taken him through. It's not that much of a surprise, but it's taken him through the thing of, does he really want to kill himself, or is he just on a downer for a little bit and maybe got depression? Hangs out with his family and back at the town he was in. It's all very good.
Yeah, I think the reason I heard about it was I think it was like when I had like Sky Movies for a little bit. It was one of those like ones they had in the independent section, and you kind of scrolled past it, and I saw the premise. And I was thinking to myself, well, that kind of sounds light and breezy.
It's
And I
currently
think there
on
was some.
Prime if you want to watch it. It's actually quite nice.
Yeah, I might probably give it a watch. What's it called? As Soon as I Go.
Just before I go.
Just before I go. Okay. But yeah, I do like Sean William Scott. I think like he's depending on what he's given, he could be very, very good. Like you ever seen a film that he was in called Goon?
I've seen bits of it. I've not seen the full thing, but yeah, I'd like it. He's quite good in that.
Yeah, it's not particularly the greatest film, but I think like just because of the sort of role he was given, he kind of knocked it out of the park. Like it's kind of a shame that after American Pie, he was kind of seen as like Stifler, and that was it. Which sucks because I think he does have like a lot more to give out than just being Stifler, you know?
Yeah, I saw him, and he was, fortunately or unfortunately, depending on what you want to look at, he was cast in season 3 of Lethal Weapon.
Yeah, I remember you telling me about this like religiously at college last year, just because it's a hell of a story how he got in there.
Well, if you've not heard the story, I'll go through it quickly. Basically, there was season 1 and 2, and if you know Lethal Weapon, the movies, that is
Mm.
Riggs and Murtaugh are the two characters that are together through thick and thin, love each other and all that stuff. But it turns out that in the TV series, the two actors that were playing Riggs and Murtaugh hated each other. And it eventually came to a head in midway through filming season 2, and they just decided that it wasn't going to work out anymore. So they got rid of Murtaugh they got rid of Riggs in the way that they got rid of Riggs. They got Sean William Scott in for season 3. And then, unfortunately, after filming season 3, Damon Wayans, who plays Murtaugh, decided that he wanted to retire from doing that show. So they didn't get any further, but he was quite good in the show.
Yeah, like again, that's kind of the thing of like Sean William Scott. Like he's very, very good, and I just feel like people just don't particularly try to tap into his potential with like some actors who like play a certain role, and they're kind of just like, no, you're this guy forever, and it's like, come on, man, they have more to give than just being that guy, you know?
But he was a really good person. Right, let's go. Your film next.
All right, next film, another Netflix release. Just because I want to get some of the more trendier related stuff out there before I get to the sort of pretentious old stuff. Ugh. Hubie Halloween with Adam Sandler.
I have also, that is on my list. I saw Hubie Halloween with Adam Sandler.
Cool. So we can now get that off the list. So that's like two things off the list. Do you want to start with Hubie Halloween? Because I kind of have a bit of a weird thing about it where I don't think it's that bad as a movie.
The thing is that obviously if you're on social media or have heard any stories from Adam Sandler, he said that if he didn't win an Oscar for doing Uncut Gem, he was going to make I can't remember the exact phrasing he said, but it was, I'm going to make the worst film in the world if I don't win an Oscar.
That was kind of the phrasing of it. That was genuinely what he said. He just sort of shrugged and was just sort of like, yeah, I'll make the worst film in the world if I don't get nominated. And I was expecting it to be this, and it wasn't. If I'm being honest, I don't think Hubie Halloween was that bad. I kind of went in watching it thinking, oh, this is going to be the worst movie ever because Adam promised it, and normally his comedies are terrible. And it turned out to be not that bad. I thought it was okay. Yeah, I thought it was okay.
I've got the Sandler police coming past. It's all the Netflix fans coming to get us.
Yeah, they're coming together. What? No, you have to love it. You can't just say it was okay. But yeah, I thought it was all right. I liked some of the casting in it. Some of the actors are okay. Were pretty okay in it. Like I think Steve Buscemi being in it was quite funny. I liked him.
I liked it as well. I'll let you continue, but I thought it wasn't horrible. I've seen worse films that he's made.
Well, of course, like I say, as I went into it thinking it was going to be like one of the worst films he ever made because the trailer was dog shit. Like, oh my god. But then it just turned out to be it turned out to be somewhat semi-charming. There's still like some elements of it that kind of bring it downhill. A lot of the comedy doesn't work for me. It's kind of juvenile at best. I'm not really a big fan of some of the other characters. They're kind of just like really mean for the sake of being really mean. Adam's voice is kind of graining in it because he's doing the whole "Hey, me, I'm Adam Sandler. I'm doing the Adam Sandler voice." And again, some of the jokes aren't particularly funny. June Squibb, who plays his mum, is adorable. I loved her, and she was just my favorite part of the film. And yeah, there are elements of it where I did like laugh, and I kind of found myself off guard by how much I kind of like laughed. But it wasn't like again the worst thing ever. I think it has a very cute message as well. Overall, it's a fun little movie, but I don't think I'd watch it again. Just it's there.
Yeah, I felt the same. It seems a bit too much that they leaned into him being bullied by everyone. Like, there's a certain point where not everyone in that town would have been that much of an asshole.
Yeah, like
But
everyone kind
yeah, it's just not horrible. I wouldn't watch it
of.
again, but I don't hate myself for watching it.
Oh, of course, it's definitely like one that I wasn't too angered that I watched. And ignore the sound, by the way, that's my dogs barking. They react to literally anyone walking through the door.
No, it's fine. I had sirens, you have dogs.
For a minute, I figured it was because they heard me critique Adam Sandler, and they're like, "What? No, I will not have that." But yeah, I found elements of it to be quite charming. There's a cameo that I don't really want to spoil, like in a certain radio station you remember that sent me just because they used a certain like internet personality who I think is just incredible, more of a meme, a human meme rather, who is just I thought it was awesome just the way they used this
I
particular
thought you were
person.
talking about the other cameo that happened in the beginning.
Oh no, no, no. No,
Oh.
but it involves I'm gonna say just for those who are listening, it involves a radio host, and that's all I'm gonna say because I didn't know this person was gonna be in the film. The person appeared. I was happy just because I think the person is a human meme at this point, and it just makes me happy to see that person.
I was happy with the cameo at the beginning, the one that may or may not have talked about a Sandler verse. What would you call it?
Mm.
A Happy Madison verse, something along those lines.
Oh, from the Happy Gilmore.
Yeah. Oh well, now
Yeah,
you've given it away.
well, it's a clue. It's not really I give it away. It's more of a clue. Someone from Happy Gilmore appears in the movie. Oh no! But I will say, when I did see that, I kind of like huge smile on my face just because again wasn't expecting it, and it was just kind of cute, and it kind of feels like now Sandler is now committing to making a whole universe now, which is worrying, but kind of cool.
It's worrying, but it also could be the best for comedy. Let's say, but it's odd. The cameo did make me, rather than just smile or anything, I did go, "Oh," but that was about it.
Yeah, like those are the best kind of cameos, the ones you kind of like where not only it's a person you recognize, but it's also a reference to something. So you watch the person like do the thing, you're like, oh, it's that person, and then they like remember like the backstory and the context for who they are and where they also been, and you're kind of just like, ah, yes, I remember. I remember this person from this one person other movie.
Hubie Ween, if you want to, is it Hubie Wing, Hubie Ween, or is it Hubie Ween?
I think it's Hubie Halloween. I wrote down Herbie in my notes. Genuinely, I'm looking at it right now. It says Herbie.
Knowing how the Herbie films went, there's probably a Herbie Ween kicking around somewhere.
Yeah, it's Hubie Halloween. Not Herbie. Herbie came from. Although I feel like it's a name that Adam Sandler could probably pull out one day. Where like he'll probably play a character called Herbie something or other. Imagine a movie called Herbie Summer, and it's about him trying to save summer.
That again, I think the love bug has. I think the love bug is beating him to everything. There was at one point I think a Herbie movie for every season, but it's just one of those things.
Yeah. Okay. So we got Hubie Halloween out of the way, which we both thought was okay. Do you have another movie you want to share, or a television show you want to share, or do you want to get films out of the way first? Then we do the TV shows.
I'll do films. I'll do a film, and then I'll just work my way down my list because it goes film, TV show, film.
Gotcha.
My next film, because my partner Lucy had not seen it, is the Limitless film with
Bradley
Bradley
Cooper. I've also seen this.
Which, if for people listening, if you've not seen it, it is Bradley Cooper is a down on his luck writer living in a crappy flat and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, living in New York, presumably filmed in Vancouver, but mostly living in New York.
Yeah, and he comes across. I won't spoil how it happens. He comes across a drug that will help him get better at just life in general. Well, I think the way they describe it is that if you can only access 10% of your brain in your life, this helps you access the rest of the brain.
Yeah, like it's like it taps into the 100% capacity of your brain and whatnot. It was a concept that like they tried doing of Lucy, the Luc Besson film, and I don't like that movie. But yeah, Limitless. So was it one that you saw before? You said
I have seen it before, but I had watched it because of my partner. So I think it's a good movie. I enjoy it throughout.
Yeah, I remember I got it for Christmas one day on DVD. My sister gave it to me, and I think it was more as a recommendation because I think I was getting I was getting heavily into watching more films at the time, and I think it was a recommendation that my sister had for me, and I was like, oh, cool, I'll check this out with Bradley Cooper and Robert De Niro. That's pretty cool. It's not one I'd watch again, but it's certainly like one of the better films to execute a concept about using the 100% capacity of your brain. And I thought it was pretty fun and kind of really well done. And also, I liked the brain stuff. It was pretty interesting to see how it all worked out.
Yeah, it's an interesting concept, and it was original for its time, was it not?
Yeah, I think it was based on a novel. I think, like from what I can remember, it was based on a book. And then like the film itself got turned into a television series like years later. So I did like the film. I thought Bradley Cooper was really, really good. This is like around the time where Bradley Cooper was now starting to do more stuff outside of the Hangover films, which is great because then after that, I think a year later he ended up doing, or 2 years later, he ended up doing Silver Linings Playbook, which was really good, a really, really good like showcase for him as an actor. And since then, he's now just been doing a lot of really good stuff.
I have found it. It is based on the novel of The Dark Fields by Alan Glynn. Sorry.
Ooh, Dark Fields, you're saying? Oh.
I have to say, I didn't realize it was a book up until now.
Yeah, it's just another one of those obscure things that I kind of remember. I don't remember how I was birthed, but I remember with Limitless was remember.
You're saying that like everyone remembers how they were birthed, Sean.
Like you'll get some people that'll probably extensively remember it, and they ask you, you're kind of just like, I don't know. I was told I was found in I was told I was found in a field once.
I get that some people will remember it because there's some people that have that good level of memory, but you were acting like you were in the minority there of not being able to remember. I don't remember my birth.
I mean, that's just because like when people go up to you, and they expect you to have this like grand memory. I mean, speaking from experience, I am an autistic person. They'll go up to you and think, "Oh, so you're good at math, and you also have really good memory." And it's like, listen, I can remember the first time I saw this movie, but I'm not going to tell you the first time that this or that happened to me. I mean, come on, jeez, I'm not a Superman. I'm just a schmuck.
But overall, we both agree Hubie Ween was okay. Limitless was better than the other ones.
If you place Limitless in front of any Adam Sandler like comedy, maybe not actually. Yeah, any Adam Sandler comedy, it'd be better than any of the other Adam Sandler like films that he's made. Except for like,
to say, I like the character. I'll look up the list here, but the man who plays the Russian in it, Russian Lithuanian. I'm not quite sure where he's from again.
I think they were quite vague on who he was. I think he was Russian, from what I can remember, just because of the accent. Well, that could be wrong. I do remember him being quite fun in the film. Not that he was like the most interesting of villains, but I do love like her near the end when you see him pop up and there he becomes like super smart. It's like, damn, this guy's entertaining. He's just really fun to watch.
What's his name? Andrew Howard. I love Andrew Howard. I think this was his first big thing, and he's been. Is he like nothing but good throughout the whole thing?
Is he one of those like character actors that pops up in like anything, and one of those people you sort of snap your fingers and go, look, it's that guy?
Yeah, you recognize him when you see him. I'm just flicking through his IMDb list. Yeah, most people will know him from Limitless, but he's done a ton. He was also in The Hangover Part 2, so there's a chance that that's where they met each other.
Yeah, or hold on, when was The Hangover 2 released? That was released before Limitless, was it? Or was it after?
I think they were fairly quick succession. Like, yeah, I think it was only maybe a year or two gap.
Right. So probably Limitless after Hangover Part 2. Okay, that makes sense.
Hangover Part 2 was released in 2009.
Right, so yeah, definitely a big gap.
Limitless was 2011, yeah. So they probably bumped into each other there because he was playing another Russian man in Hangover Part 2. So
what is it with like Hollywood casting this like guy has a Russian man? Is it because like he looks Russian?
I wouldn't say he's look Russian. I think it's because he can do the accent and can look threatening at the same time.
All right. So do you want to move on from Limitless?
Yeah, let's go.
Okay.
But I should say to the listeners that we will work on our transitions between the film talk.
This is like the first podcast after all, and whenever we stop talking, we're not really good at transitioning. We kind of just stop and look at each other like, moving on. Okay, so I'm going to bring up a really recent one that I saw. In fact, I went to see it yesterday. at a cinema, which, by the way, I'm not going to be using it as a humble brag because there's a lot of people out there being like, oh, cinemas and COVID and whatnot. It's like, listen, okay, don't. If anyone feels uncomfortable going to this, if anyone feels uncomfortable going to the cinema, that is perfectly fine. I am not going to be one of those people that's going to force you to go. That is completely fine with you. I mean, the most important thing as well is to make sure you're staying safe and sound. So you know what? Well done. You're doing a good job. Anyway, just because I don't want anyone misconstruing and being like, oh, what? You can't go to the cinema, there's a pandemic. And it's like, I know, I'm just keeping myself safe and whatnot. Just, if you don't have to, you don't have to. Anywho, so I went to see the latest horror film from Rose Glass. In fact, it's her directorial debut. I saw Saint Maud at the cinema yesterday.
Yeah, you were telling me about it.
Yeah, I didn't tell you anything after seeing it because I thought, right, I'm going to refrain my opinion until I get to this podcast, and then I can tell you how I feel about it. Just because like you have like a more genuine like reaction, more of a genuine interest, I guess. I don't know, and just I kind of thought it'd be kind of interesting.
Yeah, that makes sense.
All
We
right.
do, just for the listeners again, I'll talk to you again. Hello, listeners. We do talk to each other out with of this hour-long thing.
Yeah. Wait, what? No, we're not friends. We're only business partners. How dare you ruin the magic of the behind the scenes of this podcast? Okay, moving on. Saint Maud is is probably one of the bigger horror films to come out of like this year, considering there's like not a whole lot of competition at the moment, and I think since the Toronto and London film festivals in 2019, non-stop praise, just non-stop. I think it was initially going to come out in cinemas in April, but again, the world got set on fire and it came out months later in October. I managed to go see it yesterday, and Jesus Christ. Jesus. Oh no. Going from what I can remember about it, it's definitely one of the better films I've seen this year. Easily in my top 5, if not 3. I thought the main actress, Boyfriend Clark, was incredible. Jennifer Ely is also in it, and she's tremendous. It's a great directorial debut for Rose Glass, because she's now announced herself as being one of the great new voices of horror, and I hope and I can't wait to see what else she does. And the movie, Jesus Christ, it's one of those horror films where it will stay with you like a long, awful, lingering smell, and you can't really do anything about it until you either watch it again or you're just kind of just like settling in the fact that you're going to be smelling this forever. But not to go for the whole hyperbole thing, genuinely, the final 5 minutes, or at least the final shot, is going to be staying with me forever because Jesus Christ, the last shot of this film is just unfucking believable in terms of how it's executed and also the grander scope of the whole thing. But it's one I do strongly recommend. It's awesome, and it's one of those like movies that examines a lot of things and is also perfect for I think 2020 viewing because it talks all about loneliness and whatnot, and it's very good. I want to try stop talking because I don't want to like go into detail in case I let something slip out. But either way, it's very good, and I recommend it.
Yeah, that's the problem with seeing brand new films is that you can never gauge if the person listening to it will be like, "Oh, I wanted to see that."
Yeah, like someone can listen and be like, "Oh, I saw it. It was this," or "Oh, I really want to see it, but I just can't because the only Cineworld that I had shut down because Cineworld went, no, Bond, gotta get out of here." And but I do. Even if you don't see it in cinemas, I think last time I checked, it could be coming out on Blu-ray like in January. I had to keep up with that sort of thing because I am a collector, and it could be coming out in January on Blu-ray and DVD. So if you don't see it in cinemas, you could probably just catch it out there. But if you ever do get that urge to go into the cinema, do check it out when you can. It's really, really good. And it's one that I really don't want to go into detail about because when you watch it, it's kind of deceivingly simple where you look at the hype of it and you're like, or this premise, and you're like, right, okay, it seems like a lot happens. And it's like, not really a lot happens. It's mostly a character study about this like nurse. And from there, it just springboards into this sort of like examination of loneliness and shit, and it's very good. It's the kind of horror that gets under your skin, not only like because of how slow, methodical, and frightening it kind of is, but also how the meanings and the themes kind of linger with you, and you're kind of just like, well, thank you, Saint Maud. I can't sleep today. Thank you for your tremendous gift.
Is that you? You talked about?
Yeah, it's me done. So.
I'm gonna edit. I will edit out some of these.
Yeah. But yeah, I know it's kind of frustrating because you haven't seen it, and it's gonna be like this. It's just gonna be me being like, "Oh yes, movie good." So But generally, it's really good. And I don't know if you've heard of it. Like, if you've kind of caught tabs of Saint Maud.
I saw the trailer when it initially came out in April,
Mhm.
and then it wasn't really for me. I don't like those kind of films, to be honest.
Yeah, I don't blame you. From watching it, it's a movie that does take its time. So if you ever do decide to watch it, I will warn you, and even those who are listening, that if you're expecting it to be more of a machine gun kind of pacing, it's a lot more slow and it's deliberate in its pacing because it builds up to this like crescendo of stuff that occurs, and it's kind of making you understand where this character is coming from. So don't expect a full-on Mad Max car chase. It's just very slow, methodical, and that's okay.
Because they're
And
coming relatively close to an hour,
yeah,
even though we messed up the
um,
first couple times. I'm going to move to TV shows now, and these are
okay,
the
I've
TV shows I've been watching.
TV shows. I've got one or two I could probably talk about. One more of an update, and one that's more just like I finished this one. But anywho,
So I've been watching 2 TV shows on kind of a circuit at the moment, where I watch one night, watch a couple one night, and then a couple the next. Or I've
yeah.
been watching Atlanta
Oh,
by,
the Don Glover show.
I'll say it with less of an accent, Atlanta, the
What was
Donald
the accent
Glover
you
show.
had? Like,
I just went Atlanta. I completely missed out.
Alana.
I completely missed out the T. And a Canadian show called Letterkenny. Again, I'll say
Oh
that without an accent. Letterkenny. And I'll give you a choice, Sean. What do you want to talk about? Atlanta or Letterkenny?
Oh, I mean, I got two shows I want to talk about, but we'll save those two like after some of these ones. But I'm curious. But with Letterkenny, I kind of know how you feel about it because we've had like discussions on it where you've sent me like random clips from it out of context, and it's like, hey, this show actually looks not that bad. But because like Atlanta is like currently on that list of like greatest shows of all time talk or one of the best of like the previous decade, I want to hear what you think on it. I want to hear what your thoughts on Atlanta.
I'm really, really enjoying it. Obviously, it's kind of more of an American show, so I never really got a chance to watch it. And it's on BBC iPlayer right now, so I'm just making my way through all the things. The only problem I'm having with watching it on iPlayer is they're not 100% sure what series they're in, if that makes sense. Where I'll watch
Yeah.
one episode and it'll be season 2, episode 3, and then I'll watch the next episode and it'll be season 3, episode 4. But they'll still link together, so I'm not sure if
Like
that's just great directing or if it's weird BBC being weird.
it could be BBC being weird because I've had a couple of issues like that before where you try watch like I remember I was catching on Peaky Blinders a couple of times, and the sort of way they handle it is that you probably try watch an episode from the third, fourth, if what season are they on right there? Okay, fifth season. There we go. I did not have to look at all. Okay, shut up. I didn't cheat. so I so I watched the fifth episode, the fifth season on catch up a couple of times because I missed a couple of the episodes. And the way they structure the BBC iPlayer structure some of the repeats are not particularly great because you'll watch an episode and you'll be like, go back to season 1. And you're like, no, I don't want to go back to season 1. I'm currently watching season 4 or 5. Let me watch season 5. BBC, why are you being like this? So they're definitely kind of a weird structure thing.
BBC is definitely, it's odd when it comes to it. But yeah, I love Atlanta. I love all the characters. I love, obviously, Ern and his partner, Zazie Beetz, who's Vanessa, I think. I always get that name forgotten. But I love their relationship. Lottie, their daughter, is amazing because she's maybe 3. So she is a scene stealer. Anytime, as good as Zazie Beetz and Donald Glover are, when she's there, you're paying your attention to her. And
Because she's got something to say.
It's not even that she's got something to say. You're just like, I know she's going to do something that will just be the best. But I like the 2 side characters, Brian Tree Henry, which is his cousin Alfred, who's the main rapper. I'll give you a quick backstory to the show without trying to spoil it. Donald Glover is a down on his luck guy, because everyone I watch is down on his luck, apparently, where he wants to become a manager for his cousin, who is currently doing quite well in the city of Atlanta as a underground rapper, but he's doing quite well. So they're wanting to be a manager with that, and it just sort of follows their stories. There's a few weird ones, like there's a joke throughout it where Florida, you know how whenever Florida Man is reported, and it's like Florida Man kills 7 with a tooth and all that kind of stuff. Their running joke is that Florida Man is actually a real person, and that they've got to anytime you go down to Florida, beware of Florida Man. But obviously in real life, you know that it's only called Florida Man because they can't report his name because he's done something like run up a pole and kill himself or something.
Yeah, or run into a store masturbating and fought off the entire
Yeah.
security team or something.
One of those things where it's weird, but I do like it. And I'm not sure. I don't want to speak out of term, but I think this is Lakeith Stanfield's sort of beginning start of roles. I'll double check.
I think he had like other roles he was in beforehand. I think, from what I can remember, he was in a movie with Brie Larson called Short Term 12 that kind of got him on the role. It was like I think his first movie, I think, or more the one that kind of got noticed. In fact, there's a lot of people in Short Term 12 that kind of was. I kind of feel like kind of got discovered. Obviously, there's Brie Larson. Caitlin Dever from Booksmart and also Justified appeared in the film, and I think it's on.
I've spoken wrong then. Apologies, but yeah,
That,
he's great in it because he plays the weird man, Darius, where he's just sort of living life. He's not really in the show in any sort of term other than just being there and hanging out.
yeah, like
It's a fun series to watch. I watch another group of people from Atlanta called the 85 South Show, and I just like that kind of humor. To be honest, it always makes me laugh.
yeah. I will be honest. I saw like 1 or 2 or 3 episodes of Atlanta, but it was like during that time where like we had like one of the Sky TV stuff, and then then like we just kind of just stopped subscribing to them, and I only managed to catch like 3 episodes of Atlanta, and from what I saw, I really do like it, or I did like it. And I think like Keith Stanfield's character is probably one of the more interesting because, like you say, he's just there enjoying his life and he's like, not particularly bothered by it. And it's kind of, nice to see. And everyone else in it is like really good. And the fact that like Donald Glover is now like moved on from like not only being in Community, but is now like one of these top singers and artists right now, but has also made a TV show that is like on the same level as a Breaking Bad or Twin Peaks. It's very impressive, like, that he's kind of came that way into like, now making Atlanta.
Donald Glover's he's the annoying all-rounder where he can do everything perfectly.
Mm-hmm.
And it's hard to not look at him and be a little jealous because he's that great at everything.
Like, it doesn't really annoy me per se as much as I find it to be more inspiring because to sort of like also maybe add in another person. You ever heard of the show Fleabag?
Yeah. With them two are best mate.
Yeah. Like Phoebe Waller-Bridge, I also would consider to be an all-rounder. Not only because of like other stuff, but also from this one show where not only did she write it, but she also like acts in it, and it's like incredible how she handles it. And the same with Donald Glover with Atlanta. He wrote, he directed, he directs, and he also stars in this like show. And it's kind of incredible that now we're getting people like Glover and Waller-Bridge are these massive, multi-talented people, and it just makes me more inspired because I think, right, I want to do what they're doing. I want to like do this or do that, and just sort of like see whatever like goes. Because I think the more talents you reach at, the more stuff you can play around with, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. But that's my TV shows. Letterkenny, I'll fully explain when I finish the seasons. I think there's 8, and I'm up to season 5, so I'll go through the full thing. But it's basically like a short sketch thing that's quite funny from Canada, because there's an actual place in Canada called Letterkenny. But you have 2 TV shows you'd like to talk about, and I got you just as you were drinking water there.
I mean, to be fair, I was like about to put it down, so it's like, yes, I am ready. Here we go. Well, I'll start with one that I'm currently not finished yet, but I'm currently in the process of watching it still. So I'm now near the end of season 2 of Glee. We've got 2 more episodes left to go. My little brother and I, for those who are listening right now, have done this like deal where if I watch a season of Glee with him, he has to watch a season of American Horror Story with me. Because both are written by Brian Murphy. Both of them are each considered to be one of Murphy's best shows. And I was like, right, how do we do this? So we're doing it like a season by season kind of thing, where we finished off season 1 of Glee, then we finished season 1 of American Horror Story, and now we're on season 2 of Glee, which I'm almost finished, and it's honestly the best season that they've made. Like,
Debatably,
judging
yeah.
by like, yeah, judging by the fact that like apparently, according to you and my brother, after season 3, it kind of just went downhill. So I think I'm kind of like carrying my lucky stars of this one. That season 2, despite some of the character stuff, like Artie is a hey Artie, you know, the wheelchair character.
Yeah.
Um, he's kind of an asshole. Like, just to be candid, he's a massive dick, and I don't like. there's like moments where you kind of just find him kind of frustrating, you know. And Will Schuster is still kind of a weird guy, and some of the other characters not particularly that great. But I think you have so much elements in it that are like so strong. So season 2 is probably my favorite. I haven't finished it yet, but still probably my favorite.
I think when it comes to season 2, it is pretty good. And they're still, when it comes to characters like Artie and Shu, they're still kind of finding their feet with what they want the character to be. And without giving away
Yeah.
too much, Artie doesn't really stay asshole for, like, he's not an asshole until the last season. He just sort of, this is what he's doing at the moment.
Yeah, like it's not like I'm saying like all these characters are that forever. It's more like they'll have moments where like a character is perfectly fine. They're reasonable. You could probably talk. And then you'll have a moment where like say for instance, minor spoilers for season 1, where Tina tries to help him out with his like situation where she's like, hey, I found all this like research and stuff that can actually help you to walk. And he'll have this moment where he's like, wait, what, how dare you, how dare you try to live out my dreams of being able to walk again, you Philistine? How dare you? You get stuff like that. It's just kind of like, bro, she's trying to help. Why are you upset by this? I'd be grateful. Sure, it'll take you long, but mate, come on. Like, I just like it's just motivations like that I kind of find strange, and it's like, okay, sure, you do you, pal. But yeah, apparently, from who I talked to, I haven't seen the worst of it with the character or any of the other characters. So I'm not looking forward to where the rest of some of the character arcs go.
Yeah, without giving
Anywho,
away too much, a lot of the characters, basically, I think every one of the characters goes through a phase of being just an asshole to everyone. But that's basically being in high school. At one stage, everyone hated you for some reason, and you kind of knew it,
yeah,
and you sort of just went with it.
yeah. Or there's a reason they hate you, and you're kind of just like, what? And you kind of just don't really do much about it. You're just kind of like, okay, sure, okay. But anywho, just a quick little thing before we continue. Well, Brittany, one of the cheerleader characters, she's the funniest character in the show. I'm willing to die on that hill.
Brittany and
um,
Santana,
Santana,
yeah,
yeah, Santana.
they were, because I watched Glee when it originally came out because I lived in the borders and there wasn't really anything to do other than watch TV.
Oh, you poor sod.
The good thing with them two is that they were cast just as the extras in the first season, and they luckily when Ryan Murphy cast them, they just happened to be really really funny. Like
Yeah, like I
he
think.
initially wrote them in as just like characters to just be in the background of Quinn's character, and then he actually started letting them talk in season 2, and then he was like,
Yeah.
oh well, shit, these guys are really good. I'll keep them in.
Yeah, which is a beauty of Ryan Murphy's like eye for talent. The man clearly knows like talent when he sees it. Like that's why you get like a lot of like collaborators coming back to work with him just because he knows talent when he sees it, and I think that's wonderful. And just the fact that he was able to find the actress who was Brittany. I mean, Jesus Christ, that character is just so funny. And you know, again, I will die on the hill saying that she's probably one of the better characters in the show. She's hilarious.
I don't think anyone will
Okay,
argue with you for
that
that one. She's pretty good. She was a dancer initially. This was her first like acting thing.
Yeah, wasn't she like? I think according to my brother, I think he told me rather that she was a background dancer for Beyonce at one point. Or am I thinking of someone else that was in the show?
Oh, she's been a background dancer for everyone. I'll double check all
Mm.
the stuff because the joys of doing this over Zoom means that I can Google everything.
Mm.
But yeah,
I would do it. I would do the research stuff, but I feel like, but I would probably get so focused on it that I would probably forget that we're recording a podcast. So I'm like, yes, all right. So I'm going to move on to this other thing. Wait, sure, we're recording. So while Martin is going hang and doing that, Glee season 2, it's pretty good. I haven't finished. It's still got 2 more episodes to go, but I'm looking forward to ending it and seeing where it goes. So moving on to probably the other TV show that I finished recently. I don't know if you've probably seen it, but I managed to get through the entirety of it, and it is the haunting of Bly Manor, the new haunting series on Mike Flanagan and the Haunting on Hill House team.
I want to give that a shot because I'm a big fan of I'm going to apologize for messing up names. I'm going to work on pronunciation for the next episode. Rahul
Sorry,
Kohli.
I think someone knocked my door. I'll get that later on. Sorry, could you repeat that again for the podcast?
And I've been wanting to watch that because I'm a fan of Rahul Kohli, who is Oliver in it.
No, Owen. He plays a character called Owen.
But yeah, I always find him hilarious in whatever he does.
Yeah, I was actually
him and his mates initially to begin with over Twitch were doing drunk readings of the original Star Wars prequels, and they were trying to do it by memory, and every time they got it wrong they did a shot, and by the end I think the end of the cantina scene, no, not the cantina scene, the Coruscant scene in the first film, they were absolutely drunk.
Yeah, I was actually hoping to ask you about this because he's I don't really know much about him outside the fact that he appeared in like Funhouse, or you pronounce,
no, it's Funhouse, yeah.
Funhouse, and I don't really know who he was outside of the fact that he probably has some sort of like internet personality or something. So what did
he's
he do?
an actor. He's an actor through and through. He just happened to be a fan of Funhouse, and Bruce Green, who was running Funhouse at the time, was just like, "Oh, do you want to come in?" And they just sort of stuck together, and they were really, really good with each other.
Yeah. And either way, he's managed to get himself a really good gig for being at Bly Manor. Genuinely, he's my favorite character in the whole season. Like, if you're thinking of watching Bly Manor, I'm going to tell you right now, his character of Owen is my favorite. I love him. He's probably the best character on the show.
If you really like him, I'm going to plug something that I think I've plugged to you before, but the series iZombie.
Yeah, I tried watching that one, but it wasn't like one that I was kind of into. It was like one of those pilot things where I'm like, if I'm not feeling it, I'm probably just not going to watch it. And it's like
that was Rahul's first thing, like first big thing. He's the medical examiner there.
Sorry, I was having some water there. But yeah, I mean, it definitely makes sense that he would appear in a Mike Flanagan sort of like property then, considering that Flanagan's like a horror filmmaker, so he probably must have like saw his stuff on there and was like, yeah, I'm gonna get this guy on my show. And genuinely, the cast for Bly Manor, all of them are terrific. I mean, it's a Mike Flanagan show. They're gonna get a really good cast, giving some of the best performances of their lives. And everyone does a really good job, especially Victoria Peretti, who appeared in the first season as one of the sisters, and now is like leading the series as this sort of like caretaker. And she is just terrific in the show. She's probably one of the best parts of it, along with the other actors who make appearances. They even got like Henry Thomas from E.T., who was also in Hill House, and he puts on an English accent that's actually not that bad, which is kind of surprising. And yeah, the acting in general is really good, including what's his name? Rahul?
Mr. Kohli. I can pronounce his second name fine. It's the first one that I'm useless at. Mr. Kohli. We'll say right. Mr. Kohli.
Mr. Kohli. All right, let's call him Mr. Kohli from now on. Mr. Kohli is, again, my favorite character in the show. I love him dearly. And again, it's really, really good. There's a lot of really creative scares, but I'm going to be honest here. Bly Manor, not as good as Hill House, in my personal opinion. I think Hill House, in terms of comparing the two, probably the better one, because there was a lot more of an emotional leeway with it, and there was like stuff that I personally could probably connect to while watching it, and a lot of heart to it. Where I was just like, God damn, this is killing me. Don't do this. I mean, not that I'm saying that Bly Manor is like devoid of those things. It has a lot of it going for it, It's got the heart, it's got the scares, but there's elements of it where like, it kind of just doesn't really focus on its like main story. It's sort of like going around the place, so sort of like going, oh, here's this thing happening, now here's this thing happening, and here's this thing happening, and they're kind of just like, dude, I just want to watch your show. Let me just sit back and enjoy the show. And I don't know what it is. It just didn't really feel not the same because I don't want to like make it sound like I was expecting the same thing from like the previous show. There were elements of it that I just think worked, that I think really worked, or just didn't work at all. There's like not to go into like spoiler territory, I'll try to keep it vague as I possibly can. There's a character in it who has this really, really horrible backstory. Horrible in terms of like, it's a personal tragedy, like someone awful's happened to him. And the way they use it, at first you're kind of thinking, oh, hey, that's kind of interesting because it kind of works itself into like the themes of this particular narrative. But then by the end of the whole like season, you're kind of just like, okay, where did that go then? Why would you bring up this like horrible, horrible thing that happened to this character? And then sort of like drop it halfway through by the end, in the final episode. I kind of found it to be a bit not silly, but kind of just like you could have explored that, and it's potentially triggering for like certain audiences watching it. And I think if you're going to dedicate yourself to using a certain plot element, again, trying to be as vague as I possibly can because I want to spoil it for you or to anyone listening. And if you're going to be using that, you might as well dedicate yourself to making sure it's used not properly, but like used properly to the extent where it's not going to be dropped suddenly. Like if you're going to use it, and don't just sort of go, "Oops, it's gone now. What are you going to do?" But besides that, I thought the show was really, really good. Like, there's not really a whole lot of faults to it, just except that one thing, the fact that like it doesn't really live up to the first season that much, and the fact there's like a whole episode dedicated to the backstory of Bly Manor, and you're kind of just like, I mean, this is cool, but I want to get back to Bly Manor right now. Stuff has happened, dude. Get back to what's going on right now. Don't do this to me. I liked it, and I do recommend it. It's like 9 episodes. And all of them are like 45 to 55 minutes, so you could probably blaze through it, like no bother, within a week.
I'll give it a shot. I'll probably watch it later on tonight, to be honest. But I think that's us coming up on an hour.
Yeah, like I gotta say, we're doing quite well. I hope I didn't like overtake the hour because for those who are listening, I've been told I could apparently talk for the whole of Scotland, so that's kind of like huge hype, I guess. And you're kind of just like, no, I can't talk for all of Scotland. I practically sound half Canadian anyway, so.
That's fair enough. But yeah, shall we just wrap up? There's a few things that we can talk about next time, but how about we do this? We'll each pick a film that the other has to, or a TV show that the other has to watch for next week.
Oh yeah, I think that's a pretty good idea actually. It'll give us like some stuff to do. So do you have like I think the one I recommend you probably watch would probably be either Bly Manor or maybe Chicago 7, just to make it easy, just so I'm not giving you the one thing you have to find to watch and yada yada yada.
I think I'll do Chicago 7 for you for next time. And
okay.
I think you should, out of the ones I've got here, have you watched The Boys all the way through yet?
Oh, season 2?
Yeah.
Oh, I have not.
Okay, there you go then.
Yeah, now that I've done Bly Manor, I did think to myself, damn, I can't wait to watch The Boys, because apparently a lot, and I mean a lot, has happened in The Boys season 2.
Right. For next week, you watch The Boys. I'll watch the trial of the Chicago 7, and we'll each talk about it.
Yeah, sure. I think it's a pretty good plan. Like even if it's like 1 or 2 things, but yeah, I will happily watch The Boys. I'll try finish it beforehand. If I don't, at least I'll have some episodes to talk about.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not that I'm overly busy. Just I'm watching like Glee with my little brother. So when it comes to him sort of being in the house and having nothing to do, it's just mostly Glee or American Horror Story. So if you're going to get the time to myself, So
anyway,
so I get the time.
Let's wrap this up.
All right.
Try and wrap up.
I jumped over a couple of times. Sorry about that. I was like, oh no, I don't want to carry it over. But yeah, I'll definitely try to watch The Boys when I get the chance.
For people listening, it might get better. It might not get better. Either way, I'm putting this up. So.
Aye.
What all we'll say now is goodbye.
Bye-bye. Good night.
Bye.